going on, everybody? This is James Greer, Master Facts Voice, and you are here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, very special guest, returning guest. It's been a while. Rich Davis, we are here to talk about Angel Hunter. Thank you for being here.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man. I always enjoy your show and, excited to be here talking about the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to get right into it, of course, when I looked at this, the initial project, and of course all the simple details to it, one thing that of course stuck out with me is that you're known for a lot of your vampire tales, whether it's
Mhm.
been the Cult of Dracula, even with you doing Prometheus and Chains. What made you want to step into dark fantasy?
After you play in a horror realm for 4 books, 28 issues, 29 if you count my short story Embalming Day, it was a one shot from Blue Juice Comics.
Hmm.
You know, I needed to take a break. And Angel Hunter kind of came to me on a kind of on a lark. I was really burned out after writing Prometheus and Chains. That book took everything out of me that I had. That's the most personal, intimate book I've ever written, and it drained me, man. It really did. I didn't want to write a thing for months
Mm.
after I finished issue 6. So I was like, I want to get back into it. I know I've got to get back into it. I got another book out there. I was working on Reign of Dracula, and I didn't really want to finish it. I just wasn't in the right mindset.
Hmm.
So I've been watching this show called Goblin Slayer on Crunchyroll, and it inspired me. I had this idea. I was like, okay, I'm gonna write this story. It's gonna be like 8 pages. It's gonna be these 4 heroes with no names. They're gonna go into this cave and they're gonna fight Moloch, the demon god. And I just had so much fun writing it, man. I mean, it was
Definitely.
quick. It's funny. I got to like play with my humor a little bit. And so I sent it over to Les Garner, who became the artist on Angel Hunter. And I said, what do you think about this? And he's like, we're going to have to do this book. And I was like, really? And so, we decided we're going to do the book. And the whole story just kind of expanded out of there. It ended up being a drastically different story than I intended with that first little 8-page thing.
Hmm.
But that 8-page thing became, at first, it was going to be a prologue. And then we decided that it works much, much better as a flashback in the middle of the book
Okay.
because it got a little confusing with it as a prologue. So it's still in there. It's still funny. You get to see it. I mean, it's just really quippy dialogue. Like if you read Rise of Dracula,
Yep.
it's in line with the Ruthven sisters in their dialogue. A lot of humor with it. But yeah, man, Angel Hunter has spun out of that and going into the realm of fantasy. Fantasy is my second favorite genre.
Okay.
And I just decided like I really want to write something here, and it's been really cool getting me out of the horror realm. And I think that's sharpening my blades to get back into horror.
Hmm.
By doing something else. Even though the way we've projected it out, Angel Hunter's probably going to dominate the bulk of my attention for the next 6 or 7 years.
And I got to say this because of the fact that it's it's when I looked at the description, 96 to 120 pages.
Yeah.
So more than
Each,
likely, it was like, okay, we're not going to just do 26-page
oh
single
no.
issues of this. We're going right into the graphic novel portion of this and just try to just make one gigantic volume at a time.
Yeah. And it's so the way we've mapped the book out, it's going to be 10 volumes of the smallest volume, shortest one is 96 pages. That's volume 1.
Mhm.
After that, they're going to average 120 to 144 pages across 10 volumes. So when this is all finished, it's going to be well over 1,000 story pages. I know that's ambitious to do, but
Yeah.
Les and I, we really believe in this book, and we really feel like we've got something special here. I've got that same vibe that I had when I was writing Cult of Dracula. I knew it was going to turn into something, and I know that Angel Hunter, it's going to be something. When people get it in their hands, they're going to want more. The Kickstarter launches April 25th, and then we'll be going to comic book stores after that. But yeah, we're skipping the floppy phase. We're going kind of manga style.
Right.
The thick books. We're even going to put them out in the digest editions, so they'll be manga sized.
Okay.
We're doing black and white with with shading. So we're really paying homage and honoring the manga format. It's something I've become very passionate about in the last 4 or 5 years. I'd never really gotten into manga before. I'd never gotten into anime. I thought it was all Pokemon and One Piece and goofy stuff like that.
Right, right.
And yeah, all the shonen manga. But
Hmm.
then my girl Tiffany, she showed me that there's this thing called seinen manga,
Yeah.
and it's for adults. And
Hmm.
so she showed me Attack on Titan. I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed. Then it was Berserk, and then Battle Angel Alita, and then Goblin Slayer, Castlevania, Solo Leveling. I've gone down this big rabbit hole, and I really wanted to do something in that style. So we really set out with Angel Hunter. It is a seinen manga inspired dark fantasy. It's told in the American comic book style, but in every way that we possibly can, we try to honor the manga and anime roots that inspired it.
So what was the exact like mindset? Of course, your collaborator from Prometheus and Chains, Les Garner,
Mhm.
is doing, of course, all this artwork on it, and you can see just by the diagrams through even through the Kickstarter, just in the preview pages, you see
Mhm.
all the penciling that's going into this. Uh, did you did you initially like have the conversation of yes, we're doing this story, but yet we're going to do it in manga form, so we have to do it this way?
Yeah, we did. And Les fought me every day on this. I mean, Les and I, we love each other, man. We're like brothers. We fight like hell. But we love each other and we really wanted to work on this project. We're both really passionate about it. Les wasn't really into the manga vibe. And it was kind of the same way that it happened to me. He kept saying, I don't want to do Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like, we're not doing Dragon Ball Z. And he's like, I don't want to do Pokemon. We're not doing Pokemon. And I was like, Les, just shut up and read this. And I handed him Berserk, the same thing Tiffany handed
Okay,
me.
got you.
It was Attack on Titan and Berserk for me, and I knew he'd dig Berserk a little bit more. And it just clicked, and he was like, "Oh, I get it now." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, man. Anime manga. It doesn't have to be, the cute little kids that look like cats and all
Right.
that. There's just like American comic books. Manga it's this broad medium, and there's everything in it. There's something for everyone in there. And once Les figured that part out, he stopped fighting me, and the art just it elevated to a completely new level. And he actually even went back and reworked some of the early pages because he wasn't happy. He didn't think they were manga enough.
Mm. Now, excellent. So to step into your wheelhouse a little bit, horror is very broad, and the fact
Mhm,
that you jumped into dark fantasy here, we're talking about the expulsion of humans from Eden
mhm.
and into a world that's ruled by fallen angels,
Yeah.
an army of kaiju, Nephilim, which are basically
Yep.
like ancient giants.
Yeah, yeah. They're half human, half angel monstrosities. In the Book of Enoch, it talks a lot about them.
Mhm.
Angels that were cast out, they were called the Watchers, and they lusted after human women. So they forced these women to breed with them, and they gave birth to the Nephilim.
Mhm.
And in the Book of Enoch, the apocryphal books, and some other texts, they're presented as these giant monstrosities. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a kaiju. That's a kaiju. It's a giant monster.
Mhm.
So we started playing with the idea that the Nephilim, when they're born, they just immediately they mutate and they just turn into all these different kinds of beasts. So it's not just like the frost giants in Norse mythology. I mean, we're
Right.
getting these huge mythological creatures that the fallen angels use to rule what's left of Idessa, which is the world that we're existing in here. And they rule it with an iron fist.
Mhm.
And humans are desperately trying to claw out an existence. When we get to Angel Hunter, it takes place probably, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 years after the expulsion from Eden,
Right.
and humanity has managed to build one city. It's the capital city of Lycidia, and it's the home to the Temple of the Radiant God. And the rest of humanity lives in these little scattered settlements and little nomadic cultures. And the ones that are outside the city, they're in real danger. They're fighting the Nephilim all the time,
Mm.
and the city's a little walled off, a little more protected, but it's still very much at risk, which is what we find out in the first volume of Angel Hunter.
So when we're talking about like the inspiration for this, and I know you talked about Attack on Titan a little bit in the beginning about the some of that inspiration. Do I depict some of the humans that are the protagonists in these and the main characters in these as somewhat of Aaron Yeager-esque?
Yeah, so anime's got a little bit of a trope. It's almost always three special children who
Yeah,
find out that they've got powers, and then those powers develop. I mean, that's nothing new, and we're using that in Angel Hunter. It's nothing new, nothing special about that.
right.
Um, but where Angel Hunter gets special is its attention to the characters. This is a character driven story. We're going to follow the three special children. You've got Go, who is a paraplegic.
Mhm.
He's the Naruto character. He will not surrender. He will not give up. Also, a little bit of Aaron Yeager. He always wants to try things and attack things that are way out of his league.
Right.
But he's got that heart, and every story needs that heart. What we find out as he gets a little older is that Go has the ability to borrow powers from the ancient beast gods. And that allows him to walk. It allows him to run or fly or swim and
Mm.
all of these things. But the drawback to it is the more he uses it, the closer he becomes to becoming a beast himself.
Got you.
He's the Aaron Yeager Naruto analog there.
Right.
Then we've got my favorite character to write, Saoirse. She's like a really badass wizard in training. She's got all these magical powers, and she deals with shadows and death magic. So she can create these tendrils like a big octopus or
Mhm.
squid out of shadow, and you'll find out in the very first introduction to her, she like shoots one of these into a soldier's body, wraps around his spine, and rips his soul out. And that's where she gets her power.
Is that who we
Um,
see on the cover
that is
of the book?
that's actually Shiroi Majo. Shiroi Majo is the White Witch of Edessa. She's a little bit older. She's the only surviving hero from the Third War of the Fallen. And that's where these four heroes came together. They defeated Moloch. Moloch is trying to raise the Prince of Fallen Angels, because he's trapped. And these four heroes, which going back to the story in the cave,
Right.
they defeat him, and Shiori Majo is the only known survivor. So she goes on, becomes kind of a folk hero, and she's elevated to the high priestess of the temple to the radiant god.
Mm.
And she's got a really powerful secret that's going to come into play very, very heavily in volumes 2, 3, 4. When we first meet her, all we know about her is she's the high priestess and she uses light magic. But everybody in this story, they've got these awesome merits and these
Yeah.
powers, but they've also got these really, really deep, deep flaws. Um, One of the other characters that's really fun to write is a character named Azar Raza. Palindrome, so it's same frontwards and back.
Yep.
But these are twin souls that inhabit the same body, and they're constantly fighting to see who gets to live in the world, because they know eventually only one of them is going to get to exist and the other one's going to get consumed. Now, there is a little caveat to that. They can temporarily exist in the world at the same time, but to do that, they have to inhabit a corpse. So one of them has to go into a corpse. And the corpse will decay, as corpses are apt to do.
Hmm.
But while they're inside, the corpse decays more rapidly. And if they don't make it back to each other by the time that corpse decays, they both die forever,
Oh,
permadeath. That's a big thing. What I love about anime and manga, and I think it makes it superior to American comics, is death matters. There
yeah.
are stakes. When you die in manga, you're dead. Now I know there, Dragon Ball Z's got a few characters that come back, but there's really good reasons, and they're the exceptions to the rule. Whereas in American comics, I mean, right this Wednesday is a huge example of that. We're getting this story, the death of Spider-Man. And
Right.
we know next month there's the return of Spider-Man. So nobody cares, man. It doesn't matter. Nobody, not I don't know a single reader
Hmm.
who cares that Peter Parker's dying.
Right.
Just like when Kamala Khan died late last year, the same day that the issue came out that she was dying, the solicit in previews was the return of Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
So it's become a joke. I mean,
Hmm.
American comics, they have no stakes. Nothing matters because they're just going to retcon it. But that's not the way it works in manga. I mean, Sasha gets shot right through the heart when she finally gets the damn potato,
Hmm.
and she's gone, man. Connie's brokenhearted, and everybody's crying. She's not coming back. All the characters early on that get eaten, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Naruto, Zabuza, and Baku, or Haku, excuse me. When they die, they're gone. I mean, these are awesome characters, and
Yep.
I would love to bring them back, but they're gone. They're dead. They do not return, and that's the way it is in Angel Hunter. When I want that fear in the reader that every time you turn a page, one of your favorite characters could die,
Yeah.
and when they're gone, they're gone. And so we really get to do that with Azar Razah. The male half is Azar, and the female half is Razah.
Mm.
But when they're together, it's Azar Razah, and they get to dance the knife's edge with. You're just afraid one of them's going to die. I mean,
Right.
you're like, oh my God, are they going to get back together? Are they going to make it? And so that's been a really fun character to write as well.
In your casting of brainstorming, did you happen to provide almost like an origin to these fallen angels?
Yes, we only introduce one of the fallen, technically two, but you don't know
Okay.
that yet.
Yep.
Um, in volume one, and we know that there are 13 of them. The
Yep.
really cool thing about volume one, we know we build the world, we build the characters, but we don't really know a lot about the larger mythology yet. We just know we have the seeds and it's going to grow.
Yeah.
But volume one it's what I like to tell people. Imagine if the Empire hit every planet in the Republic at the same time with a massive blitzkrieg. That's what's going on in Angel Hunter.
Mm.
This character named Aiden, he's this really just badass general. He's kind of the Darth Vader figure, that you got to have. And he's leading this army of humans and kaiju and demons, and he's just sweeping the kingdom. He hits the
Mm.
capital city, he hits Go's village of Dragon Bay, he hits Azar Razah's hidden village of Konoha. He hits the Grand Athenaeum where the wizards train. I mean, he's sweeping the whole realm at the same time.
Mm.
So it's. I mean, it's pedal to the metal, man. We don't let up. It's George Miller. It's Mad Max. It's we're going.
Yeah, that almost reminds me of Isaac from Castlevania, how he always just showed up with his night creatures and just took down
Yep.
town to
Yep.
town to town on his way to the castle.
There may have been a little inspiration there.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
I
Now,
love Castlevania, man. That's a sick
it's an
anime.
absolutely phenomenal show.
Yep.
I,
And
I
Night One is really good too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Now, one thing I asked you about before we started is the title, and
Mhm.
it's separated. There's a dash through it. Now, people will be like, "Oh, it's just Angel Hunter," but I noticed that there was this slash through it, almost like a Hunter X Hunter way.
Yep.
How
Yep.
so?
So it takes on a lot of meanings. There's some pretty wicked foreshadowing there.
Okay.
So when you get it, you're gonna get it, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, I see what's going on." So, but the basic things that you're gonna get out of it initially, there's angels, there's hunters, there's people hunting angels, there's angels hunting humans. So you have the balance, and it's the yin and the yang. Everything in Angel Hunter, it's all about balance. Light, dark, Tiamat, Marduk.
Right.
These things, they're diametrically opposed, but they also depend on one another. The world can't exist without them. So it's a reflection of that yin and yang relationship in volume one, and it foreshadows some things that are going to happen as the story progresses into the next volumes, and you'll really start to understand the deeper meaning of that slash. That one little simple, little simple line has so much meaning to the story.
Okay. Devil's advocate.
Mhm.
What is the end goal for not only the humans that are expelled from Eden and just so happen to be in this world, but yet
Mhm.
what would happen to be the end goal for the angels and their army of kaiju Nephilim? Or that
Right.
if they just so happen to destroy all the humans who have set foot onto this world,
Mhm.
what would happen then?
They want to, their intention is to raise the Prince of the Fallen Angels and wage the fifth war of the fallen against heaven. They basically want another chance. They want
Got it. Okay.
to reclaim their place. Where it begins, doing my research about angels,
Hmm.
angels aren't cute little cherubic things,
Right.
Raphael's,
They're
and
soldiers.
yeah, man, they're scary. I mean, when you read angelic mythology, I mean, there's this choir of angels that they're just these giant wheels with eyeballs all over them. There's a flying heart with wings. It's scary. I mean, they really are. And the seraphim, they've got these six big wings that can be like blades, and they can be like a shield. So angels are scary.
Mhm.
So while we're delving into that angelic mythology, um, the angels in this world, they hate humans because they believe that humans have supplanted them in the heavenly choirs. And Lucifer, who we all know as the first fallen angel,
Mhm.
he refused to kneel, and he's like, no, we are made of pure starlight. These humans, they're made of mud. We're not going to kneel to them,
Right.
and he's furious that humans get free will and
Hmm.
angels don't. And he's like, and he's feeling like, as angels, we have served you, we have worshiped you since the beginning of time, and
Hmm.
now you're going to toss us aside for these mud creatures. And that is the genesis of the first War of the Fallen. And so you're going to see kind of a parallel. These fallen angels are expelled from heaven, humans are expelled from Eden. So they share this commonality, but
Right.
they refuse to acknowledge it. So humans, their goal is to survive.
Mhm.
It's a pure survival instinct. They want to survive and thrive and build their world. Angels want to wage another war, and the only way they think they can do that is to wipe out humanity and make heaven notice them again.
Mm. Now, I'm wondering of these 13 fallen angels, if any of them feel conflicted by the fact that all this is happening.
Yes. So there's one angel who is, they were a neutral party in the first War of the Fallen. They were sympathetic to the angels. They were also sympathetic to humanity. Now they've been cast out of the heavens. They're trapped on Earth, and both sides hate them. They don't have a place. So there's definitely that one in fault who is in hiding, and we'll learn a whole lot about them, and they become a central figure in the way the story progresses.
Mm. Now, question for you. The stories that you've written over time, of course, a lot of people that don't know, you've actually have taken time in the theater.
Oh yeah.
So, what would you say would be the difference between, of course, writing screenplays for theater as
Mhm.
opposed to the screenplays that you pretty much put on page for comics?
There's not a lot of difference, honestly. That was one of the things I discovered. The skill set required to write a stage play or a screenplay,
Hmm.
it's the same skill set required to write a comic book script.
Yep.
Writing a comic script has much more in common with a screenplay than it does a prose novel. So there's not a whole lot of difference, because when you're writing a screenplay, you're writing for a director, photographer, storyboards essentially,
Okay.
to interpret how we're going to set the camera up, how we're going to light this scene, how it's going to progress, how it's going to move. And with a comic script, you're writing for your illustrator,
Yeah.
and they interpret how these things are laid out. So the skill set is remarkably similar. And really and truly, there's not a lot of differences. Maybe the biggest difference is screenplays are very, very, very strict about the formatting that you write them in. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen people trash scripts because they didn't use the right kind of font, which is ridiculous, you know. Whereas with comic book scripts, there's so many different ways to write them. I mean, you know, there's the Marvel way where Stan just describes a basic scene and Jack comes in and creates pretty much everything. You can do
Right.
it that way. Or you can do it much more detailed. Kelly Sue DeConnick is amazing at this. I tend to try to be a little bit more like Kelly Sue than Stan Lee. Not that I'm anywhere near as talented as Kelly Sue DeConnick. She's one of my favorites.
She wrote FML.
Yes, and she
Okay.
did pretty deadly. Did a lot of work on Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Um, I was introduced to her first through Pretty Deadly, which is a post-apocalyptic fantasy retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice. If you haven't read that book, go get it. It's fantastic. Volume one. It's one of those Image volume ones. It's only $10.
Hmm.
Kelly also created Bitch Planet, which is
Yes.
another amazing book. She's a fantastic writer. I almost idolize her. I met her at a con one year, and I had to stop myself from kind of fanboying all over her because it was just like, man, I love your work so much.
Now, the reason that I asked that question, as opposed to theater, as opposed to comic books,
Mhm,
something that's different that you're doing now, outside of the world of vampires.
mhm,
With dark fantasy, there's a lot more world building. So the
mhm,
settings, I can imagine what you've described here for Les,
mhm.
or what Les is basically put into Page himself, had
Right.
to be massive.
Oh yeah. We've got a Bible. Which that's something you'll find a lot in television series, especially.
Yeah,
You have what's called a Bible, and it's everything, every character, every setting, every scene, every weapon, every vehicle. You know, you keep it in this Bible so that you can come back to it and remember. You know, when you're in Volume 6, you can go back and like, wait, what was that vehicle they had in Volume 1?
yeah,
So you can find it, and it gives Les and I both a lot of reference points to go back to, and the Bible's constantly growing, as we introduce these new characters and new settings and things. But yeah, the world building it was crucial when you're writing a fantasy. Without if you don't spend the time building that world, it's just going to be a jumbled mess because you're going to contradict yourself. You're going to write yourself into corners. You're going to have plot lines that go nowhere. And, I mean, that happens anyway sometimes. I mean, sometimes you're writing a plot
yeah.
and it just doesn't come out the way you think it will. But when you have a Bible, something to reference back, I think that's less likely to happen. So the Bible has been very, very important as we've developed Angel Hunter, and this is a co-creation between Les and I. We're equal in this book, and that's been really fun to do as well because I've never really had a co-creator in
Yeah.
comics. I've always done it on my own, and it's been works for hire with my illustrators. So with Les, like I said, we love each other like brothers. Les has been involved in every single book that I've ever written in some fashion or another. You know, either he did backup inks on Prometheus and Chains. He did interior illustrations on Reign of Dracula.
Mhm.
He did cover Cult and Rise. He even did some stuff on Embalming Day. So yeah, Les has been involved in everything I do. So it's an honor to be able to create this book with him.
Excellent, excellent. Now, as far as what you talk about as the Bible, and we talked about these settings, um, the worlds that you are actually building. If you could, like, what are more so like the hubs? Like, where do the humans lay? Where do the Nephilim lay? Like, it's like where what are these places that you described?
So humanity exists. They have one city. It's the city of Lycidia, and it's civilization. You know, it's
Mhm.
similar to what you're going to see in a lot of fantasy settings. And so there's a lot of life
Mhm.
inside of Lycidia, and it's protected by Shiroi Majo and the Temple of the Radiant God. There's also a temple to the Earth Mother. Again, yin yang,
Mhm.
light. They go together. And so our other heroes, they live out in this world where humanity exists in these scattered settlements. We've got the village of Dragon's Bay, which is very, very Norse inspired, kind of blending a Norse fishing village with a Japanese fishing village. And this is where the priests in the temple guard Leviathan's eggs.
Mm.
So we pull, Leviathan, one of the beast gods. We make him one of the beast gods, or her actually. Um, and so the people of Dragon's Bay, they exist to protect those eggs, and in return, Leviathan protects them.
Ah.
Um, so it's a symbiosis relationship. And then we have the village of Konoha, which is a nod to Naruto because I love me some Naruto. It's a village. It's going to be more like Rivendell,
Hmm.
hidden deep in the woods. We don't have necessarily elves, but these humans are more elf-like. They're lithe, they're beautiful, thing in that regard, and that's
Highly
where
advanced.
exactly, yeah, and that's where Azar Razah comes from,
Mhm.
which is really fun because especially when we're writing Razah, she's just insane. I mean, she really is. She's the insane. She's the id, whereas Azar is the ego in that relationship. So they have a lot of really cool conflict with one another. And then we have the Grand Athenaeum, which is this. It's a great library, a university. Hogwarts would be a good comparison, maybe.
Okay.
It's where wizards train. Of course, we don't have Hufflepuffs in the Grand Athenaeum. They're pretty brutal, pretty strict, pretty mean, and that's where we find Saoirse. Like I said, she's my favorite character to write because she gets me down to the darkness and my horror roots with her
Hmm.
because I just love the image of these tendrils, these tentacles of darkness just ripping souls out of her enemies. And as she develops, as her story goes along, you're always wondering, when is she going to break bad? When is she going to
Right.
turn? And that's one of the I don't write heroes and villains. I
Mm.
write protagonists and antagonists.
So is she like
So
a cursed individual? Or
she's all three of these special children are they're Nephilim that didn't mutate.
got you.
They didn't become the monstrosities, and so that makes them
Yep.
special. Now, the interesting thing about them is we don't know who they're going to side with. We don't know if they're going to join humanity and fight the angels, or if they're going to join the angels and destroy humanity, because they have roots in both. And we're going to explore that quite a bit,
Right.
them being torn apart and tempted to join both sides. And you're really, it's never going to be obvious which side they're going to end up on.
Mm, man. Um, Now also, I realized from the Kickstarter that you decided to collaborate a little bit with the Geek Collective. Could you talk about that?
Mhm. Yeah, Joey Galvez, he's been a friend of mine for a while. I did a podcast with him, and I found out that he founded the Geek Collective, and they help people build Kickstarters, and they do a really good job of promoting them. Being as Angel Hunter is my first Kickstarter that I'm handling myself. I've
Yeah.
done a couple of Kickstarters for Cult of Dracula, the deluxe edition, and Reign of Dracula, but those were handled by the publisher. I
Yep.
had very little to do with them other than saying, "Hey, go back this thing." But I had to build Angel Hunter. Les and I did all on our own,
Okay.
so it just made sense to work with someone like the Geek Collective who could bring a lot to the table. They have their expertise. They've worked on a lot of successful Kickstarter campaigns. They know what they're doing. They know how to build it. They know how to make the pages um, and how to build your mailing list. I think what I understand is the most crucial thing with a Kickstarter is the pre-work. To lay that groundwork, get people interested before the project launches. That way, you don't have to spend all your energy trying to get the attention once it's live. You need to get people ready and interested and knowledgeable. That's why I'm doing all these podcasts. I started doing podcasts 2 months before the Kickstarter is set to go live. We don't go live till April 25th. So,
Right.
a month from today, we go live. And, so we're just doing all the pre-work, the preparation for it this way. And Geek Collective has been an amazing help. They're developing graphics, they're developing the videos, they're scheduling the advertising posts and things like that. It's they've been a great asset, and I'm very proud that we decided to go with them.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Rich, always good to talk to you. Thank you
Yes,
again.
sir.
Absolutely.
Hey,
So,
thank you for having me.
absolutely. So, Angel Hunter, of course, going live April 25th, as you said.
Yep.
We doing a month-long campaign?
Yeah, it'll be 30 days,
Okay.
April 25th, May 25th. The pre-launch page is live now, so make sure you go over there and click follow, notify me, so that you'll get the notifications. We're about to start releasing or revealing our reward tiers.
Okay.
We're gonna have this is going to be out there really soon, so I'll kind of give you a scoop on this. We're going to have variant covers by Jay Ferguson, Caleb Addy, who was a Spawnuary winner.
Mhm.
Greg Land is doing a cover. Bjorn Behrens is doing a cover. Ingrid Gala is doing a cover. Spike Jarrell is doing a cover. Sean Forney is doing a cover. So we've got some really, really gifted artists who are contributing to Angel Hunter. And of course, Les, he did a cover, which is absolutely sick. And the main cover that you're seeing is by Jordan Dorenzo. Jordan was my illustrator for Prometheus and Chains. He's become one of my dear friends as well, and he's got a great Kickstarter campaign now called Ogiri. Make
Mhm.
sure you go check that out. It's well worth it.
It's funny because the cover that you're talking about, I'm looking at it, and it's got that like dark crystal vibe from the 80s and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
like that, like kind of like how that's formatted. But Rich, look forward to the project. Definitely. For those of you that want to are not interested in single issues, 22 to 26 page issues, you get a full graphic novel here. Richard and Les are basically putting this out for you. So thank you again.
Yeah, and we're going to keep the price low. That's one of the goals
That's
that we
great.
have. We've seen a lot of floppies, and there's nothing wrong with this because it's expensive to produce a book.
Of course.
But Les and I we're willing to take a little bit of a hit on our own profits with this to keep the price point low. So we're going to be going 24.99 for a 96 page. We're actually going to add some. It's 96 story pages, but we're also going to add some bonus content that's going to pump that up to 120. So 24.99 for a 120 page graphic novel. It's easily accessible. You get a lot of bang for your buck and a lot of story content.
That's fantastic. See, nothing wrong with indie comics. See, sometimes you get some of the frills, you get the frugalness of it. It works.
Yep, sure
Rich,
does.
always a pleasure having you, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Well, hopefully we see you back for volume two.
Absolutely. Count me in already. All right.
All right.
So for myself, James Grandmaster Facts Voice, Rich Davis, Angel Hunter going live April 25th on Kickstarter. We will see you guys soon. And for those of us here with the Facts Project, we are out.